Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace.
Homelessness is surging across the United States despite vast sums allocated to housing and support initiatives. Critics continue to fault President Donald Trump for excessive spending on the recent Middle East conflict. The Homeless in America crisis is no longer limited to major coastal hubs. It's expanding into suburbs, small towns, and deep into conservative strongholds like Texas. Nationwide, hundreds of thousands of individuals are reported as homeless. From sprawling tent encampments in Los Angeles to overcrowded shelters in New York, the increase is unmistakable. Now, cities like San Antonio are confronting a relentless new wave. San Antonio, renowned for its rich culture, military heritage, and consistent growth, now faces a humanitarian crisis it can no longer overlook. Thousands remain unsheltered, while social services are pushed to their limits. This documentary reveals that the issue transcends a mere shortage of homes. It encompasses mental health struggles, addiction, economic upheaval, and decades of policy shortcomings at every level. In this report, we'll explore the intricate causes of San Antonio's homeless crisis, analyze the national factors fueling it, and investigate how one Texas city's struggle mirrors the broader reality of being homeless in America. The reality of homelessness in San Antonio today. Across the United States, homelessness is growing more visible, severe, and politically divisive. This is especially evident in Texas, where cities like San Antonio face the same escalating crisis once thought exclusive to coastal urban centers. The January 2024 point-in-time PIET count by the South Alamo Regional Alliance for the Homeless reported over 3,250 individuals homeless on a single night in Bexar County, with over 1,400 unsheltered living in tents, vehicles, or on the streets. This reflects a nearly 14% rise from the prior year, marking San Antonio's highest count in over a decade. San Antonio has long viewed itself as a compassionate city, yet the data reveals a far more complex reality. Encampments have emerged near freeways, behind retail centers, and along riverfronts. Local frustration is mounting, with even lifelong residents growing increasingly impatient. Many San Antonians voice unease and concern, some citing safety risks, others mentioning litter, obstructed pathways, or declining commerce in impacted areas. These feelings echo sentiments in cities nationwide, highlighting a broader conflict in how Americans perceive the homeless. This rising resentment isn't just about inconvenience. It stems from society's interpretation of homelessness. Too often, those homeless in America are labeled as idle, threatening, or substance dependent, ignoring the systemic breakdowns that place them there. This fuels a cycle. Public demands for city leaders to address visible homelessness lead to sweeps and relocations, further destabilizing the most vulnerable. San Antonio is trapped in this very dilemma. While facilities like Haven for Hope provide services such as temporary housing addiction support and employment assistance, the need far exceeds capacity. As of early 2025, Haven for Hope has been fully occupied for over 18 months, leaving many on wait lists or outdoors. Meanwhile, federal pandemic relief funds that once bolstered services have run dry, leaving local authorities struggling to bridge the gaps. Yet this is just one facet of a much broader national pattern. The crisis of the homeless in America is not isolated, it is systemic. What duty does a nation have when working? Families can't afford homes. Veterans go untreated for PTSD, and mental health care remains out of reach for millions. As San Antonio mirrors this national failure, the need to tackle the root causes, not just the symptoms, has never been more critical. Why homelessness is rising across the United States. Why is homelessness growing in the world's wealthiest nation? This question troubles many Americans as the crisis spreads beyond major cities into smaller town suburbs and rural areas. Despite massive federal investments in housing and relief programs during the pandemic, the number of people without homes keeps climbing. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reported a record 653,000 people experiencing homelessness, a 12% jump from 2023, the largest annual increase in modern history. Several critical factors are fueling this disturbing trend. The primary driver is the shortage of affordable housing. Nationwide rent costs have skyrocketed, particularly in cities like Phoenix, Austin, and Tampa, but also in smaller markets like San Antonio. The National Low Income Housing Coalition states that the U.S. lacks over 7.3 million affordable, available rental homes for extremely low-income renters. Simply put, there aren't enough homes for people with limited means to afford. Another key issue is stagnant wages coupled with rising inflation. For many working Americans, employment no longer ensures financial security. Even minimum wage earners often can't afford a basic one-bedroom apartment in most U.S. counties. When an unexpected cost like a medical bill, car repair, or job loss strikes, families are often one misstep from eviction. The mental health and addiction crisis also plays a significant role. Over the past decade, public mental health systems have been underfunded and overburdened. Many individuals with untreated conditions like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or PTSD slip through the gaps. Meanwhile, the opioid crisis, driven by prescription drugs and synthetics like fentanyl, has ravaged communities and driven more people into homelessness. Yet the most exasperating aspect is that these problems aren't new. America has recognized these weaknesses for years, yet they persist in different forms. Are we merely addressing symptoms instead of root causes? Or do we still view homelessness as a personal failing rather than a systemic one? The rising number of homeless in America reveals a deeper reality: the safety net is failing. Without bold, unified solutions, more cities like San Antonio will face the same challenges. The specific causes of homelessness in San Antonio. San Antonio's homeless crisis mirrors national patterns, but is also profoundly influenced by local factors. As the city expands quickly, soaring living costs, gaps in public resources, and intricate social issues are driving more residents toward housing instability. The 2024 Homeless Management Information System (HMIS) reported a 14.3% rise in chronic homelessness in San Antonio over the past year, with a significant increase in families and seniors entering the system for the first time. The most pressing cause is the growing unaffordability of housing. From 2020 to 2024, average rent in San Antonio surged by nearly 30%, with areas like the Pearl District and Southtown experiencing even steeper increases. Yet median earnings for working-class residents have not kept up. A Texas Association of Community Action Agencies report indicates that nearly 48% of San Antonio renters are cost-burdened, spending over 30% of their income on rent. For low-wage workers, often in hospitality, retail, or food services, this leaves little room for unexpected expenses. Another major factor is eviction, which poses a persistent threat. Despite federal eviction moratoriums during COVID-19, Texas was quick to end these protections. In 2023, Bexar County handled over 20,000 eviction filings, many from landlords who had postponed action during the pandemic. These court-ordered evictions often leave families homeless overnight with limited access to shelter or legal aid. San Antonio also hosts a large veteran population, many grappling with mental health issues, disabilities, or addiction post-service. While programs like HUD-VASH have reduced veteran homelessness, nationwide, local resources fall short of demand. Haven for Hope reports that nearly 12% of their clients are former military, with many waiting weeks for transitional housing due to limited availability. Lastly, the city's social service system is under significant pressure. Caseworkers, shelter staff, and housing advocates face burnout, funding deficits, and lengthy waitlists. There are simply not enough beds, mental health professionals, or re-entry programs for those exiting jail or detox facilities. This creates a harmful cycle. Individuals move through temporary fixes without achieving lasting stability. In reality, homelessness in San Antonio stems from multiple interconnected causes. It is a complex crisis rooted in economics policy and systemic inequities. And like much of what we see with the homeless in America, it poses a tough question. How many must slip through the gaps before the system is compelled to reform? Addiction, substance use, and mental health in San Antonio's homeless crisis. In any candid discussion about homelessness, addiction, and mental health must be addressed. While not every unhoused person battles substance use or mental illness, a notable portion of San Antonio's homeless population is trapped in a challenging cycle involving both. Yet too often, public discourse frames this documentary crisis as moral failing or personal weakness, rather than recognizing the larger systems that let it escalate. In San Antonio, outreach workers and nonprofit staff note a rising presence of methamphetamine, synthetic cannabinoids, and fentanyl drugs that are inexpensive, powerful, and highly addictive. Bexar County's 2024 Public Health Report states that nearly 38% of unsheltered individuals exhibit signs of active substance use, with meth being the most frequently cited drug. Fentanyl, though newer to the area, has surged due to its accessibility and potency, often mixed into pills or other substances without users' awareness. The truth is, this many homeless individuals turn to drugs not for recreation, but to cope with trauma, loneliness, untreated mental conditions, and the relentless stress of street survival. When sleeping on pavement or in an alley, staying alert feels safer than drifting off. When your past is marked by abuse or neglect dulling, the pain can seem like the only choice. Yet instead of compassion, many respond with disdain or fear. Equally critical is the impact of untreated mental illness. Schizophrenia, severe anxiety, bipolar disorder, and major depression are common among San Antonio's homeless population. Yet access to psychiatric care remains severely limited. A 2023 Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute study ranks Texas 50th nationally for mental health service access. Many individuals only receive diagnoses in jail or emergency rooms, places not equipped for ongoing care. This highlights a vital issue. How can recovery happen when treatment is nearly unattainable? And how can we create lasting housing solutions while ignoring the complex needs of those grappling with addiction and mental illness? The homeless in America lack not only shelter, but often proper medical care, emotional support, and pathways out of cycles that started long before they landed on the streets. If society keeps treating addiction and mental health as lesser priorities, the crisis will only worsen. True change starts when we stop criminalizing pain and begin addressing it. COVID's impact on homelessness in San Antonio. When the pandemic struck in early 2020, it disrupted every aspect of American life, and for many, it led to losing their homes. In San Antonio, the impact was significant and enduring. While temporary federal aid offered critical support, its end revealed deep flaws in local systems. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reported that homelessness nationwide climbed to over 770,000 people by January 2024, an 18% rise from the prior year. This set a record high, with cities like San Antonio bearing the pressure. In Bexar County, the January 2024 point-in-time count recorded 3,272 individuals experiencing homelessness, up nearly 7% from 2023. Notably, the unsheltered population, those sleeping outside, also increased, reflecting reduced shelter access after social distancing rules ended. Meanwhile, the early lifting of federal eviction moratoriums in Texas triggered a surge. Over 20,000 eviction notices were filed in Bexar County in 2023 alone. During the pandemic, initiatives like the American Rescue Plan provided billions in emergency housing vouchers and rent relief. In San Antonio, these funds kept numerous families housed. However, with these temporary supports set to expire by mid-2026, and some earlier, many now face eviction once more. For some, brief stability during COVID has given way to renewed displacement. Another unintended effect was the strain on public health services. Shelters' reduced capacity outreach teams encountered new obstacles, and many clients slipped through gaps in an already struggling system. In San Antonio, drop-in centers and detox facilities often operated at reduced capacity, slowing transitions to stable housing and creating a backlog only now starting to ease. Additionally, the pandemic worsened mental health and substance use challenges, fueling what many providers call post-COVID trauma. As anxiety, isolation, and economic strain grew, so did the vulnerability of those already at risk. This has led to a rise in chronic homelessness among those without consistent care. Ultimately, COVID did more than reveal existing weaknesses, it deepened them. The temporary housing supports have largely vanished. Now, local leaders and policymakers face hard decisions, strengthen the safety net, or allow the crisis to persist. Is San Antonio prepared to act before the next surge hits? What is the government doing about homelessness in San Antonio? Tackling homelessness in San Antonio is not merely a local challenge. It's a measure of how governments at all levels handle a human crisis unfolding across the nation. In recent years, city leaders have intensified efforts to curb and reverse the trend, though progress remains slow and inconsistent. The city's flagship initiative, Haven for Hope, a 22-acre campus opened in 2010, provides comprehensive services including shelter, medical, and mental health care, job training, and housing placement. Though nationally recognized, even Haven for Hope is now strained by overwhelming demand. As of 2025, the facility has operated at full capacity for over 18 months with hundreds of people on waiting lists. In response, the San Antonio City Council has advanced its strategic housing implementation plan, emphasizing permanent supportive housing, emergency shelters, and street outreach efforts. In 2024, the city committed an additional $27 million in local and federal funds to homeless services, with portions allocated to rapid rehousing and rental assistance initiatives. These programs seek not only to provide shelter, but also to help individuals reintegrate into society with stability and dignity. Yet despite these investments, obstacles persist. Many advocates argue the system is reactive rather than proactive, funneling funds into emergency shelters while doing too little to tackle root causes like poverty, trauma, and scarce affordable housing. Additionally, coordination between the city, Bexar County, and Texas state authorities often lacks cohesion, resulting in inefficiencies and overlapping efforts. Federally, programs like HUD's Continuum of Care and Emergency Solutions grant have bolstered local service providers, but funding is short-term and insufficient. Without reliable, sustained financial backing, many nonprofits operate on unstable budgets, uncertain about retaining staff or expanding services. So, what more can be done is providing shelter enough when stable housing, mental health support, and income security are all critical to the solution. The crisis of the homeless in America, including in San Antonio, demands more than short-term remedies. It calls for a fundamental shift to view housing as a human right, not merely a commodity. Until that shift occurs, cities like San Antonio will keep struggling in an uphill battle addressing symptoms rather than curing the root issues. Conclusion. San Antonio's homeless crisis is not a standalone issue. It reflects a broader national failure. From soaring rents and flat wages to untreated mental health issues and the lingering effects of a global pandemic, the causes are numerous and solutions demand more than temporary patches. While local initiatives show potential, the magnitude of the problem requires wider, more unified efforts. Homelessness goes beyond lacking shelter. It involves the loss of stability, dignity, and opportunity. As the number of homeless in America continues to rise, one reality grows undeniable. No city, however, compassionate can address this alone. The question now is whether the nation is prepared to view housing as a right, not a privilege. Until that shift happens, San Antonio and countless cities like it will remain on the front lines of a crisis we can no longer ignore.